Perez because he had injured his ankle, and I have to see how he responds to that. But that's the only problem we have from a game. Everybody else should be available. Coming back, the closest is Walcott, but he's still not ready. Gibbs will not be ready. So I don't think we'll have anybody coming back into the squad.
Sorry, Francis Coquelin came off in that game. What's the latest?
He is out, of course, for 3-4 weeks now.
Okay. And what was the issue with him? What was the issue? Was it leg?
Hamstring.
Okay. And Danny Welbeck's back in full training. We've known he's been back for a few weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Could he be one in line for a game at Preston?
I haven't decided yet, but it could be. Depends on Perez a little bit. Depends on how he feels as well. And physically, his fitness is quite at a good level. But of course, the ideal way is to give him 2-3 games in under 23. But the situation is not always ideal. Sometimes you have to hurry up.
And obviously you played a lot of games in a short period of time. Do you know what sort of approach in terms of your squad you'll take for the FA Cup third round?
No, we play with 90% of the squad. I will rest Koscielny because he came off with 2 problems in his thigh. Of course, Ospina will play. But apart from that, maybe Sanchez I will rest as well, certainly. But everybody else will play.
Arsene, just to recap on Francis Coquelin, that's obviously a blow, a bit worse than you were hoping.
Well, I say 3-4 weeks because it's a hamstring and he came off. Maybe we'll have good news. He has a scan today, but I count always 3 weeks, you know.
And what about Mesut Ozil?
Mesut Ozil is coming in today and will be assessed by the doctor, but he has been now 2 weeks in bed. I cannot imagine that I will involve him on Saturday.
What's this? Is it a cold or flu?
It's a flu, yes. Throat infection, or I don't know exactly.
So you say you make a few changes, rest a few players. How much of a priority is the FA Cup?
It's a big priority for us. We've shown historically that we care about that competition, and it's a massive competition for everybody. To win the FA Cup is of course always a target every year, and we know as well that after, as you said, the congested Christmas period, it's always a tricky game, the third round, and that's why I believe that's a mental challenge as well for the Premier League teams to prepare well, not to have a bad surprise, and especially when you go today to a championship team, it's always difficult.
You've said that Sanchez is one of the players that you will rest. Are you concerned by his body language at the moment? I'm referring in particular to the throwing down of the gloves in frustration after the Bournemouth game.
Yeah, what is surprising there? We want to win the games. When you don't win, you're not happy. That's normal.
And what was he like in the dressing room often?
All right.
I guess you want to see that kind of passion.
Of course. You know, you do not, without passion, you do not come back. If when you're 70 minutes 3-0 down, without passion, you don't come back in the Premier League. First of all, it's exceptional, and it doesn't often happen in the Premier League, you know, and you need a special response to come back, what we had. But we wanted to win the game, and we didn't win, and we're all frustrated.
So he's fine. He's fine, Sanchez.
Of course, he's fine.
Talking about passion, obviously Giroud played a big part in that comeback, and he celebrated, didn't he, after the equalising goal? Would you have preferred him to get straight back on?
Yes, of course. You understand both, because we're 3-0 in the head of the players, the game is lost, but ideally you want the guys to take the ball and put it in the middle of the pitch.
But you can understand what you say, the celebration. After last night's game, I'm sure you saw it. I don't want to ask you about that, but do you think now this is a 6-horse race in terms of the title?
It looks like Chelsea is still quite comfortable, but When you're interrupted in a series of wins, of course, it raises always hope for others and makes you have to restart again. So I think it's an open league, it's true. And it's a second part of a championship starts now. You know, we know that January until May, it's a moment of truth for everybody. Who will come out of this race? It's very difficult to predict at the moment.
I don't want to keep to just a couple more from me. Have you had any offers? You said last week that you were open-minded and maybe in the market for Carl Jenkinson and Matthew Debuchy to move out in January. Have you had any offers for either of them?
No.
Is that still the case? You're happy to see them move on?
We'll see, yes, what happens, yes.
Ricardo Pereira, a very versatile fullback. Any interest in him?
No, we are no.
And I've got a final question, if I may. You're one of the few people, it would seem, Arsene Who we had when you joined Arsenal. We're getting Silva Who. Marco Silva looks like to reach a deal with Hull. You know him well from the Olympiacos game a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about him? What kind of coach he is?
Not too much, no. I think if Hull is interested, they know him well. And I do not want to give wrong advice here.
Thank you.
Arsene, just one more about last night. What did you actually make of the game? It seemed to be very competitive. There wasn't too much between the sides.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was very competitive, very tight as well. And based a lot on organization, desire not to lose at the start, of course, because it was a big game. And in the end, as many times, you know, just the goal before half-time certainly played a big psychological part after, in the second half. And overall, I agree, it was a tight game. But Tottenham could take the advantage because two great goals from two great services from Eriksen and two great headers as well from Dele Alli.
You say you're not going to be taking quite your first choice team to play Preston.
I will take my first choice team.
Your first choice team, yes, but a few players will be rested, put it that way. You've already admitted that.
No. At the moment, I would say Ospina anyway, he plays in the Champions League, maybe 2 or 3 players.
The general point I'm making, though, is that a few clubs, even in the Championship, don't necessarily play their strongest 11. They rest 1 or 2 players. Do you think there's anything that the FA Cup that could be done to the FA Cup to just restore a little bit of its prestige?
Look, it's a little bit of debate every year, you know. And first, personally, I have no special solution. But as well, when April comes and May comes and teams go to Wembley, it's something special. So in January, sometimes people, when they do not really know if they can win it or not, but I think it's a special occasion, special trophy, and in every single country, everybody will die to win the cup, you know. And I believe it's still the same in England, maybe. In the history, it was even more important because you had less Europe. The importance of Europe was less. The importance of European Cup was less. And but for me, it's a special occasion.
Is it right that Preston were involved in the very first FA Cup final that you watched in 1964?
It's possible, yes. My memories are not good enough. What I remember is that we played against them 17 years ago. And that we were 2-0 down, and that we won the game. We had to fight to come back, and but Petit scored 2 goals on the day, you know, Emmanuel Petit. And so overall, yes, we had a difficult tie 17 years ago at Preston.
And it is a club synonymous in a way with just one man's name, Sir Tom Finney.
Tom Finney, yes, I know Tom Finney.
Any sort of, not necessarily memories of him, but
no,
you are aware of his standing in the English game.
You know, I respect everybody who has made a contribution to the history of English football club, and Tom Finney has certainly made a massive one. But what is true is that Preston, in the early part of English football, was a massive club with a huge history, and they are now back in the Championship, so And they produced as well many young players historically, who have made it after.
Arsene, it is January now, the transfer window has opened. Just so that we can get an update from you in terms of who's come in, who's gone out, can you give us an update with regards to that?
In our club, who is going out at the moment, nobody. Who is coming in, nobody. For us, the best way would have be to get Cazorla back, to get Danny Welbeck back. Anyway, with very little hope to find players of that quality in the January transfer market. So the best way to deal with that is to get our injured players back.
Much has been made of the quality of depth that you have this season, but do you feel that on a week-to-week basis you don't absolutely know your starting 11, the best starting 11?
Yes, I know it 90%, but it's good to be open as well. When you have a big squad, there's a competition there. And when there's a competition there, that makes it uncertain, and that you have to use the players who are in the best form at the right moment. So that's, I think, it's normal, and it's part of a competition that between the players. There is, if they know, no matter how well they perform, they have no chance to play, they give up.
Is that how you think you get the best out of this squad? Because there would be a debate as well that perhaps for Conte, having the same team and some consistency has helped him?
Yes, they have the same team. What is easier for them because they don't play in Europe, where that makes a huge difference. So they have one game per week, and therefore the stability inside the squad is easier to have.
Finally, do you think the battle even to get into the top 4 this season is going to be a challenge?
For everybody, but at the start you want to win the league and give absolutely everything to do it. But I agree, every year you have to function exactly the same, no matter who you are, get first 40 points, after fight to be in the top 4 and possibly fight to win the league.
Arsene, you mentioned Santi Cazorla there. How's he recovering?
At the moment, he is far. It's not going as quickly as I imagined it. So certainly in January will not come back.
Because I think originally you were thinking 3 months from the beginning of December.
Yes.
Do you think it now might be a bit longer than that?
It could be a bit longer.
What exactly is happening?
At the moment I don't really know, but I just have a schedule that is not planned at the moment to go outside and run, So I think once a player goes outside and runs without any problem, you count 6 weeks. At the moment he has not been out, so that's why I say in January he'll certainly not play.
That obviously must be a frustration to you because he's such an important player, isn't he?
It is, because he's such a great player, and as well because he has started the season in such a tremendous way. He was the dominating player in our squad at the start of the season, and we suddenly lost him.
On a more positive note with Danny, in a sense, have you got to hold him back? Has he told you he's ready and he wants to play?
He wants to play, but Danny is as well conscious. He came back after a long injury, had a setback. So he suffered a lot, and at the moment I think he listens well to what people advise him to do, even if he's of course naturally impatient. But when you have been out for such a long time, you do not want a setback.
I know you said you haven't decided yet, but it sounds like it might be more likely off the bench rather than...
Yes, of course, he will not start again.
How much do you feel you've missed him? Do you think, for example, I know you've switched Alexis to the centre this season and that's been very successful, but had Danny been fit, would that maybe have happened?
Yes, that's a coincidence sometimes of the availability and of the injuries, and it's true that Danny and Sanchez are similar type of players in the fact that they love both to play on the left, but they can both play through the middle, and with always an uncertainty, where is their best position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arsene.